Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the 11th module. And we're talking about advertising and public relations, or as it is more contemporarily known, integrated marketing communication. This is the second video in the series where I like to talk about some sweeping points that you'll brush upon and study in some cases in depth in terms of this chapter. So we're kind of finishing up talking about integrated marketing communication and some definitions of terms. And of course, what's happened in terms of emerging media and social media is that integrated marketing communication now, as most of you too well know, has also swept into the realm of those particular devices, handheld devices, mobile technologies. So anytime there's a major promotional event or an event that can become instantaneously promotable, it triggers an entire series of tweets, votes on websites, and other interactivity, which is also now a important part of the overall advertising, public relations, social media mix, so that it can engage viewers, listeners, readers, potential buyers of products and services like never before. This is an extremely exciting area of research activity, and training in universities. You're also going to spend a great deal of time in this chapter talking about theories of persuasion. And I teach a lot of this in my upper division courses, in courses like Mass Media and Society. And that's not a plug for my courses, but there are many theories of media, and many of them revolve around cognitive elements of persuasion. And this whole idea of, given the fact that the mind is so generally entrenched in terms of its existing belief systems, how do we motivate people to attend to, have a favorable reaction to, think about purchasing or buying a product or service that they haven't tried before or have tried in the past but don't currently use, and get them inclined toward a favorable attitude toward that product or service and ultimately buy that product or service. It is a huge, difficult process in terms of persuasion. Motivating people to do things is a difficult task. Motivating people to do things that may or may not be absolutely essential to their lives is even a more difficult task. Hence the challenge for advertisers, for integrated marketing communicators, and hence the importance of having you read that kind of content in this chapter. So you're going to read about theories like cognitive dissonance, an old theory. It's as old as I am. It was introduced in 1954 and basically talks about how difficult it is for people to move off of existing values or perceptual sets and think favorably about something new and different. We're just habitual animals, and you'll read more about in this chapter about what that imposes upon advertisers in terms of trying to get folks to do things. You're also going to read a great deal about the history of advertising and how agencies came to be and what some of the early advertising was all about. So you're going to read about some of the elements of business, but I want to brush upon some of these I think are important, worth noting. I was told a long time ago in the advertising business by a former boss of mine that copywriters are a dime a dozen. I can fire you and hire back new people tomorrow. There's always folks willing to do commercials out there for me. There's always folks interested in writing copy for magazine ads. The last person this employer or boss went on to say, after a very successful career in advertising, this person said, the last person I would fire from my agency is the media buyer. And the media buyer is the person who places advertising in print and electronic media. And we offer courses in media buying. And if you're serious about a degree in integrated marketing communication here or anywhere, you should be sure to take a course in media buying so you learn how to match up the demography of an audience with the money you have in a budget for advertising or public relations, and the best practices in terms of strategically placing your advertising to maximize your advertising dollars. So you'll touch base in this class with terms like cost per thousand, CPM. You probably won't be introduced to these terms, but it should tease you into wanting to know more about cost per point, cost per rating point, ratings, shares, what all reach, frequency, all these commonly used terms in the industry that are important for you to know, and also more important for you to know how to calculate as part of a larger integrated marketing communication campaign. You'll read a little bit about agencies and how they make money. They have a number of systems anymore for compensation that characterize different relationships with clients. The commission system is still the most popular. It's one that the industry relies on, where there is an added cost tacked onto the price of placing a 30-second radio spot or a 1-minute radio commercial, or advertising space in a print vehicle like a newspaper or magazine. And so the commission is siphoned off by the agency as part of passing along those bills to a advertising client. So you'll read a little bit about the commission system and other systems. You'll also, of course, in this entire chapter, in terms of not just advertising, but public relations as well, read about traditional and emerging methods of advertising. And I already touched base on that a little bit in the previous panel, where we talked about things like social media and social media events, and how there's this entire industry now popping up of people, often young people like yourself. I have students in my classes like this today who are experts in utilizing social media for promoting the goods and services of a particular client. And your audience, your generation, is particularly adept at this. It's one thing to use these social media as a participant. I've talked about this in previous chapters. It's another thing for you to learn how to master the technologies at your disposal in terms of cellular and handheld and mobile technology, and know enough about your audience to know how to jump on opportunities and utilize those social media in order to advance a cause or service. You're also going to read about branding. It's one of the most popular theories, has been for some time, say 20, 25 years. It's well researched. Scholars have devoted careers to the study of branding. There are many definitions of branding. My definition of branding is one provided to me by a former student who's made millions of dollars in the television industry, and I like it. And it's basically brands, or branding is how purchasing a good or service makes a person feel about themselves. And so the psychology that's attached to the acquisition of goods and services, when you wear Nike, if you wear a Rolex, if you purchase a Mercedes, there are all kinds of emotional responses and feelings that go along with that. That's branding. And branding is the art and practice and science of developing brand value for a product or service. And it's science and art blended and fused in some of the most intriguing ways. It's not easily done, but when it's done effectively, it can generate powerful, powerful traffic to your brand. You're going to read extensively about public relations, and I don't have anything against public relations. I understand its value. And remember, advertising and public relations don't always deal just primarily with commercial goods and services that are out for profit. When I teach advertising copywriting, we always have, in addition to a commercial brand or service, I always require students to work on nonprofit organizations as well, because those entities need all these kinds of services as well, sometimes performed as pro bono or free services on the part of larger agencies. So you're going to spend some time in here talking about trends, traditions, a little bit of the history of public relations as well. So those are some of the things I wanted to brush with on this chapter. I hope that you enjoy this chapter, and I know that it's important for many of you because it'll be your first academic introduction to a career that you think you may want to enter into. There's a wide range of opportunities in this part of the field, particularly in a town like Las Vegas, where we have so many things going on that involve the promotion of goods and services that span the realm of advertising and public relations, integrated marketing communication, for nonprofit groups, for all the tourism and all the related industry having to do with the casinos in this community, for social services and social causes, for government, for universities. All of these kinds of organizations need people who are effective at communicating clearly what the mission, what the goals, what the brand is of these organizations. So this chapter spans essentially the entire institutional realm, and people who have passion about particular kinds of things in the world. If you're nonprofit oriented, if you're media promotions oriented, if you want to get into gaming, if you want to get into tourism, if you want to get into travel, if you want to help promote a magazine or a webzine, all right, you can see the value of this chapter. All right, we'll move on here. Thanks for watching and listening, and I'll get back to you with Module 12 in another week.